Hey, Jada and Tatiana, how are you? Hey, Ariana, that's funny. We're just gonna give it a couple minutes for your classmates to show up. I'm doing good, thank you so much. Watch 2 more of my show youth. What's it about? Just gonna wait about 1 more minute for the rest of your class. Hopefully they show up. And we will go from there. Who in the chat has received their Alchemist book from Mr. Andy? Ariana, Jada, Tatiana, have you received yours? Or you, Sam? Jada, you have not. Okay. All right, not a problem. Mr. Andy should be coming around to get that to you pretty soon. We were just talking about it at the meeting, and he was dropping books off to people's houses. So if you have not received yours, if you reach out to Mr. Andy, if there's a time available for you today that is best for you to receive the book, just let him know, and I'm sure he won't have a problem dropping that off to you. All right. I'm going to just get started. If people show up, that would be great. But since you guys are here, we're just going to get going. Okay. So last class, I presented you with a question, right? You have a job, you have a happy enough life, you're comfortable, you're not poor, but someone approaches you and says, leave everything you ever knew and I will give you unlimited wealth. Would you do it? Right? And we asked about the complexity of that question. What is wealth? Right? What does wealth mean to you? What's more important? Is it money, happiness, feelings? Right? This book, The Alchemist, really puts a lot of that into perspective, as we said. So I'm going to ask you guys a question, and if you could, just write it in your notes. That way you have it. And think about it. Respond in the chat right away. That's totally okay. What's up, Creighton? How are you? All right, guys. Hey, what's up, Carlos? How are you? I'm doing all right, thank you. In a paragraph defining the term alchemist, give at least 3 synonyms. So, what are 3 words that are similar to the alchemist, or to alchemist, I'm sorry, and how can you use them in that paragraph? What is an alchemist? Do you know at least that much? If not, look it up. Use this time to reinforce that information. What's an alchemist? For those who like anime, Full Metal Alchemist is a really good anime. Just throwing that out there right now. Yep, today's NFL draft. Creighton, did you receive your copy of The Alchemist from Mr. Andy? Did he drop it off at your house? And let me bring this closer. That way, if it's harder to see, there you are. Awesome. I'm glad he did, Creighton. So, guys, what do you think the term alchemist means? Nope. Carlos, you are good. As long as you have your alchemist book, that's the only thing you missed. And this is the first question. In a paragraph defining the term the alchemist, give at least 3 synonyms. Okay? 3 words that mean somewhat the same thing or are similar to the alchemist. Okay, through magical processes, right? So alchemy was seen as a science back then. I guess what we would most compare it to nowadays would probably be like chemistry. But yeah, they thought it was magic back then. Basically changing coal into gold, etc. Things that we have um, information on, research, and have been able to support with science, they did not have back then. Anybody else? No, not like that. When Goku becomes Super Saiyan, he's charging up energy, right? So, the alchemist would be like, let's say I have sodium, hydrogen, and oxygen, right? 3 things that typically sound like salt water. And I can turn them into a beautiful ice sculpture or something like that. Something that works with the properties and the elements that were involved. How did I make it that? They're going to say a magical process. But how accurate is it? We don't know. Anybody else? Jada, do you have any synonyms for alchemy or the alchemist? Creighton? I'm going to put the next question. Cryomancer, magician, conjurer. Yes, D&D terms. Ariana, please focus. I love your GIF. It's super cute. But where's my synonyms? I don't need cat comments right now. I need some synonyms. All right. All right, guys. Sam, since they talk about magic in the definition, I guess you could, but that's more fantasy realm synonyms. But yes, they work. All right. So, next question. It has been said that alchemy is all about pursuing a spiritual quest in our physical world, right? So, this world is given to us in a very specific way, right? If you go to Philadelphia, Philadelphia looks the same no matter what, right? You go to Philly and I go to Philly, we're going to see the same things, right? We may pay attention to different things, but the information stays the same, right? But there's this spiritual quest that we also look for in life, right? We have that connection to God. Or for those who don't, maybe you have a connection to something else that you find value in, right? The art of turning reality into something sacred is what Paulo Coelho thinks, this idea of alchemy. That's where his mind is when he's talking of this alchemy. So with this in mind, right, What is your personal legend? What's your moral compass? What is your guide? What do you believe? Right? Do you believe that your spiritual beliefs and your spiritual essence and feelings are determined by the reality that you live in? Or is it deeper than that? Or is it something that really you are really changing your beliefs spiritually on each individual experience that you are facing in the real world? How do you stand? What do you feel? When did you first know that maybe, you felt this spiritual connection? What set that forward for you? Ariana, you said you don't know? That's okay. Hey, Janaya, how are you? Yeah, so Ariana, when was a time that maybe you felt because something that occurred in your real world, right? Something happened, or maybe you experienced something that through that experience you were like, maybe God's watching over me, or maybe there's this connection to this spirit, right? That you didn't sense or notice before. Maybe it's something that reinforces or reinstills that faith in you. Thanks. Thanks, Carlos. Okay, for you in sixth grade, Tatiana, what did that look like? I'm doing well, Janaya. I'm just chilling. I'm here. Okay. So you felt like there was this presence, right? Maybe that he was in the room during your funeral. What was it that you felt? Like a chill, his presence? How would you how would you compare it to something in reality since, it wasn't physically there? His presence. So, all right, now think about this a little bit further, right? Alchemy. Magically changing something's base element in a magical way, etc., right? So, your grandfather or your great grandfather, right? He passed away. But even though we know in reality this fact that he passed away, we felt this feeling, this spiritual presence. How was this created? This belief, this spiritual guidance, this compass that we all have inside of us. That is where Paulo Coelho comes from and on his stance on alchemy. These feelings that you derive and come up with based on real life experiences, real life exposure, you know, and how you interpret that in your mind, how you reinforce these beliefs, these feelings. It didn't look like anything, but it was a wind when my grandma passed away, and I had went into a room. Is when it happened. So your grandma passed away, and the first time you went into her room, you felt almost like a gust of wind. Tatiana, is what you're saying? Yeah, of course, Ariana. We don't need to keep talking about it. Stands from JoJo. Really, Sam? Really, Sam? Wow, Tatiana. So that's another example, right? This presence that you feel, this belief, the essence of your grandmother, you feel had this effect on your reality, your physical space, right? That gust of wind, that presence. You know grandma was there and she's looking out for you. When Goku hit Ultra Instinct, no. Well, all right. So you say the presence of our own soul. Okay. This is something that has been questioned for years, right? So alchemy actually started with that thought in mind, right? If you gather all of the elements to create what would be a human, right? All of the elements that say this makes the human body. Why is it that we can't take all of these elements and create a human, right? What is it about the soul that exists outside of maybe this tangible plane, outside of these elements? How is it that we have this essence and presence of being, right? This individuality, this self, right? Where does this come from, even though we are this mass of 21 different elements? And that's a question that alchemy brought forth, right? Like the human soul, where does it come from? It's amazing because this allows people to really think about themselves, about the spiritual world, being connected, um, and it's going to be like a lifelong quest. Like when if someone's able to give us that answer one day, this is what a soul is. That's going to be groundbreaking, especially if they have proof. That's insane. Um, Being connected with yourself. Yeah, everyone has a soul, right? But all right, Ariana, for example, you say you're connected with yourself. You believe in yourself, right? Do you feel that you have a connection with something outside of yourself? That would be that interpretation of your reality, right? Into this thing that you're putting your spirit into, something you're instilling that faith, that value in. JoJo stuff helped in class. You're fun. Yeah, that's well. You look into yourself every day, right? We see ourselves, our reflection in the mirror, and we are questioning ourselves every day on how we can get better or how we can improve. These are questions that, even at a base level, where are these questions coming from? Hopefully, it's from a spirit or an essence that you have that wants you to be the best that you can be, right? This subconscious or even conscious effort to be this better person, how to improve. All right. So, the alchemist, as we mentioned last class, is going to have you thinking about these ideas, these principles regularly. Okay. I want you guys who have the book, okay, if you go on Alma, you are going to see that there is a packet for this book. This book does not have chapters, okay? It's broken up into 3 parts. Those 3 parts are a few pages in length each. I have it set up so that you'll read a certain portion of each part, each assignment, okay? That way you can read, get a little bit of understanding on each portion. And the book isn't a big book at all. I have my copy. I'm not sure if this copy is the same as the one Andy purchased for you, but depending on what you guys have at home, you should, if you already have it, be able to tell me if this is the same one. Do you guys have this book? You guys have it? Yes, no? Does it say The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho? It doesn't need to look exactly like this one, but do you have this book? Okay. It's a red cover, but you have The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Awesome. All right. So, on your assignment today for homework, let me log into Alma. That way I can give you the specific thing I'm going to be looking for. 1 second. All right, guys. So for your class, your assignment that you had your pre-reading vocab, which you should have already done or be in the process of doing, and you're gonna have discussion questions part one, okay, which is gonna take you to the first, I believe, 30 some to 40 some pages of the book, okay. So I believe it's 33 pages. The packet is on Alma and it should be published today. Okay. If you read this book, you're going to find the base book is only 164 pages. Okay. This is not a big read, but it's a deep read, right? I feel that you guys will take a lot from this book. All right. And it's going to ask you a ton of introspective questions. Okay. For homework, I want you guys to open up on Alma discussion questions part one. And if you go to that assignment, all right, if you look, you will see there is a section for a prologue, part one, part two, etc. I want you guys to do the part one section for pages 1 through page 33. Okay? This week, I want you guys to do pages 1 to page 33. That's 14 questions on your packet. Okay? If you go on Alma, you go to the assignment and you click on it, the PDF will be right there. You can choose to put it in a Google Doc. You can choose to print it, write your answers, and send pictures as you have. Whatever works for you guys, okay? You can type it up, retype it, and then just answer in a Google Doc. That is okay. Whatever works. I'm going to read you guys the prologue right now. All right, the prologue is before part one, but this is going to give you a little bit of an idea of what to be ready for. Okay? Yes, Miss Chris is here to help. I am also here to help. You know, I'm always responding to your guys' emails, so whatever you guys have, feel free to ask us. All right, we're here to reinforce your learning and your growth. So, The Alchemist, the introduction. All right, it's only 2 pages, but I want you guys to listen to this, think on these things as you go forward into your discussion questions. I remember receiving a letter from the American publisher HarperCollins that said, "Reading. The Alchemist was like getting up at dawn and seeing the sun rise while the rest of the world slept. I went outside. I looked up at the sky and I thought to myself, so, the book is going to be published in English. At the time, I was struggling to establish myself as a writer and to follow my path despite all the voices telling me that it was impossible. Little by little, my dream was becoming a reality. 10, 100, 1,000, a million copies sold in America. One day, a Brazilian journalist phoned to say that the President Clinton, had been photographed reading the book. Sometime later, when I was in Turkey, I opened the magazine, Vanity Fair, and there was Julia Roberts declaring that she adored the book The Alchemist. Walking alone down a street in Miami, I heard a girl tell her mother, "You must read The Alchemist." The book has been translated into 56 languages and has sold more than 20 million copies. The people are beginning to ask, what's the secret behind such a huge success? The only honest response is, I don't know. All I know is that, like Santiago, the shepherd boy, we all need to be aware of our personal calling. What is a personal calling? Is it God's blessing? It is the path that God chose for you here on earth. Whenever we do something that fills us with enthusiasm, we are following our legend. However, we don't all have the courage to confront our own dream. Why? There are 4 obstacles. First, we are told from childhood onward that everything we want to do is impossible. We grow up with this idea, And as the years accumulate, so do the layers of prejudice, fear, and guilt. There comes a time when our personal calling is so deeply buried in our soul as to be invisible, but it is still there. If we have the courage to disinter our dream, we are then faced by the second obstacle, love. We know what we want to do, but are afraid of hurting those around us by abandoning everything in order to pursue our dream. We do not realize that love is just a further impetus, not something that will prevent us from going forward. We do not realize that those who genuinely wish us well and want us to be happy are prepared to accompany us on this journey. We have accepted that love is a stimulus. We come up against the third obstacle, fear. Fear of the defeats that we will meet upon the path. We who fight our dreams suffer more than when it doesn't work out because we cannot fall back on the old excuse of, oh, well, I really didn't want that anyway. We do want it, and we know that we've staked everything on it, and that the path of the personal calling is no easier than any other path, except that our whole heart is invested in this journey. Then warriors of light must be prepared to have patience in difficult times and to know that the universe is conspiring in our favor, even though we may not understand how. I ask myself, are defeats necessary? Well, necessary or not, they happen. When we first begin fighting for our dream, we have no experience and make many mistakes. The secret of life, though, is to fall 7 times and is to get up 8 times. So, why is it important to live our lives, our personal calling, if we are only going to suffer more than other people? Because once we have overcome these defeats, and we always do, we are filled by a greater sense of euphoria and confidence. In the silence of our hearts, we know that we are providing ourselves worthy of the miracle of life. Each day, each hour is part of a good fight. We start to live with enthusiasm and pleasure. Intense, unexpected suffering passes more quickly than suffering that is apparently bearable. The latter goes on for years, without our noticing, eats away at our soul until one day we are no longer able to free ourselves from the bitterness and it stays with us for the rest of our lives. Having disintered our dream, we use the power of love to nurture it and spend many years living with the scars. We suddenly notice that we always wanted what was there, waiting for us, perhaps the very next day. Then comes the fourth obstacle, the fear of realizing the dream for which we fought all of our lives. Oscar Wilde has said, each man kills the thing he loves. And it is true. The mere possibility of getting what we want fills the soul of the ordinary person with guilt. We look around at all of those who have failed to get what they want and feel that we do not deserve to get what we want either. We forget about the obstacles we have overcome and all of the suffering we have endured, all of the things that we give up in order to get this far. I have known a lot of people who, when their personal calling is within grasp, went on to commit a series of stupid mistakes and never reached their goal when it was only a step away. This is the most dangerous of obstacles because it has a kind of saintly aura about it, renouncing joy in conquest. If you believe in yourself and you find yourself worthy of the things that you have fought so hard to get, then you've become an instrument of God. You help the soul of the world, and you understand why you are here. Think about that. This book is going to push you to think about yourself, your space in this world. Your what's your dream? What is something that no matter what someone tells you, you believe in yourself. This is me. This is who I am. This is who I want to be. You guys see me, I'm teaching, and I'm always pushing forward, trying to invest myself in music because that's my dream, right? And I fight for it, no matter What people tell me, I still invest in my dream. And that's because I know I can always get better. If you have a dream, if you want to be something great, do not allow those fears, that comfort of your space that you have built, hold you back from reaching your dream. Okay, guys? So the book starts on page 3. Okay? I want you guys to read up to page 33. Okay? Your homework is the first 14 questions. I want you to read this book while also looking at yourself. If the book asks you a question, ask yourself that question. Think about it for yourself. Think about how maybe you can apply it to yourself, or how maybe it's questioning something that you can work on and better yourself to be the best you that you can be, to be the person who is capable of reaching and exceeding their dream potential, right? You guys can all do that. One last question I'm going to ask you guys before we leave is, Sam, you are a goofball. What would I do for a Klondike bar? Not too much, to be honest. Walk to the store and spend $1.50. All right? All right. So one question I want to ask you guys right now, before we get into this book, are all souls the same? Are all souls the same? So I will write this up top. Are all. All right, don't just tell me no. Give me a response. Support your answer. Jada, that is the same question I asked myself. All right, Carlos, I'll help you find that after class. After I help the 11th graders with their class, or I'm sorry, the 9th graders with their class. Yes, are all souls the same? That's literally all it's asking. Okay, what do you mean by that, Tatiana? Support your answer. Give me a little bit more. We are not all the same people. And what else? You say yes because we all go through the same things. Okay? Bless you. Bless you. All right, Ariana, I'm going to ask you a question now that's going to question your statement. Do you believe that your experiences are the same as Sam's experiences? Or maybe Tatiana's experiences in life? I like that answer, Sam. All right, see, you gave me a no, Ariana. So now this is where you have to think on your response and how can you make it better? How can you make it more individualized? Okay. Okay, Jada, and you're talking about our physical essence, right? You're talking about fingerprints, hair, style, everything. Style does come a little bit from our personality, which is, our presence of our soul and being. Now, I'm going to specify on this question a little bit more. We said, are all souls the same, right? Now, do human souls have more value than other souls? Meaning the animals that we see. Maybe bugs. We'll say bugs have souls, right? Does maybe the earth that we live on, does reality have a soul? What do you think? Does reality have a soul? Yes. I would hope you say a rock does not have a soul. An interesting thing to think of, guys, this will be the last thing I say before we head off, is let's say we had two people in the same room, right? But they are separated by a wall, right? They are given the same experience, meaning if one gets a cookie, the other gets a cookie, right? If one is doing work, the other one is doing the same work. If we are experiencing the same exact thing, right? This all souls the same statement. Can we see that difference in how the person reacts, right? Imagine these two people in the same room, separated by this one wall, getting the same things. Will they respond the same? Maybe, right? But there is that maybe not, which is reality, right? This interpretation. And that is where people's compass, people's legend, that soul, that spirit shows its individuality, right? If we all reacted the same to the same stimulus, we'd be robots. Having that individual ability to react authentically, feel, right? That is our soul in action. Yes, everyone does react differently. Okay? I want you guys to think very deeply when you read this book. Okay? I know we got really deep when we read Fahrenheit 451, when we read Perks of Being a Wallflower. I want you guys to go into this book with a little bit more analytical mind, those analytical eyes. Read a question, think about it deep. Okay? Let it guide you. Okay? I'm very interested to see in some of the questions that you guys pose to me after you read a few pages of this book, and then once we complete the book. Okay? Your packet, the questions 1 through 14, okay, that is going to be due by next Thursday. Okay? You have 1 full week to read 33 pages and answer 14 questions. You guys got that? Tatiana, I did receive a few people's work. I will let you know. I haven't put the grades in for the things that I got yesterday. I'll be doing that today. All right. So 33 pages, the first 14 questions by next Thursday. Remember that, guys. The packet will be published right now. So if you go on Alma It should be available there. It says homework, The Alchemist, discussion questions, part 1. It is available. If you don't see it, let me know and I will send you that PDF in an email. Okay? Best of luck, guys. I hope you enjoy this book, and I hope you guys are able to really ask great questions to yourself. I really do. Have a great rest of your day, guys, and be safe. Enjoy the draft if you're watching it today.